So this is a 1991 80 series cruiser with the 1 HDT 4.2 liter turbo diesel engine in it. 506,000 kilometers on the clock, so it's been around the block a few times. I'm in Gonarezhou National Park at the moment in the southeast of Zimbabwe on a shoot. So this is extremely real footage. We've just arrived at a campsite. I haven't yet unpacked the car, and I thought now was a perfect time to show you around. In terms of modifications to this vehicle, as you can see, it's got a roof rack on it, which I use all the time. I only carry light loads on there, but I find it very useful. I put a bull bar on the front. For me, that's an essential safety protection measure when traveling. Otherwise, in terms of modifications, the only real modification I've made here is to put Old Man Emu long travel springs and shock absorbers on the rear suspension just to tighten it up. It's not in great condition. I don't have nearly the financial resources I would like to properly maintain a car like this. It is a working vehicle. It's traveled extensively with me. I've been driving 80 series cruisers for about 12 or 13 years. I've driven literally the length of Africa on more than one occasion in these and been out to all kinds of places. What I love about this car is it's a very comfortable family vehicle. I can drive on the highway perfectly comfortably, but I can also take it deep into the bush because it was also built in the era before computers. It's really easy for me to be able to maintain the vehicle, and I can pretty much fix anything on it that goes wrong as we're traveling. It's a manual gearbox. I used to have an auto, and I found the auto slightly problematic. I had a few occasions when the seal that holds in the ATF fluid burst in really awkward situations. I lost all the ATF fluid, and then the gearbox is of no use. So I prefer the manual for that reason. So that's an introduction to the car. Come have a look under the bonnet. So one essential piece of equipment that any 80 series cruiser owner will carry with them is this, a stick. Why? Because the little hydraulic arms that hold the bonnet up after a while cease to hold the bonnet up. So everyone needs to have one of these. And most 80 series cruiser owners have a little spot on the back of their head where they forgot this. They've been working and the bonnet's come and closed on the back of their head. So the beautiful thing about this is it comes naturally. This is the VX. Comes naturally with 2 batteries, split charging system, which I find really helpful. This one has the 24-volt starter, so you do need both the batteries working in order to start it. But of course, being a manual, I can actually push start this in extremis and have done so many times. As you can see, it's not in perfect condition. I'm missing the lead for my master cylinder reservoir. Haven't ever been able to find a replacement for that. Consequently, brake fluid leaks. Typical of these Land Cruisers, the power steering fluid reservoir also leaks and continuously sprays power steering fluid all over. But otherwise, it's in pretty good condition. This engine is absolutely rock solid and I love it. Really powerful, simple motor. Very rarely lets you down. I've had a few issues with the cooling system over the years, mostly I think related to just the pipes fraying here and there. I disconnected the heating system. One time I was in the bush in Botswana, and through one of the pipes at the back there, they burst and water started coming out. I drained my cooling system, so I've bypassed that. I don't really need heating because I don't live in a place where it gets very cold. Otherwise, the only other modification that you would see under here is a little compressor. I normally like to travel with an onboard or inbuilt compressor just so I can alter the tire pressures when I'm driving on sand or driving in the bush. That makes it very easy. All right, I think that's pretty much under the bonnet. Let's go have a look inside. So this is it. It's covered in dust. As you can see, we are in the middle of the bush, in the middle of a chute. Lots of things lying around. all my tree ID books, my binoculars, various different things. The VX comes with a center fridge, which I disconnected because I found it irritating. I really don't need to use a fridge. And what was happening was I was storing stuff in it and accidentally switching it on, and then it was all getting cold and then wet. So I disconnected it and I just use it as a storage, which I do find very useful. Oh yes, this is another thing that every 80 series Land Cruiser has. This magic stuff, WD-40, I'll show you later, but it's extremely useful. No modifications here, just an extra cigarette lighter adapter so that I can charge all the batteries for the cameras and so on. I've got a little simple Garmin GPS, and really that's it. Oh yes, there is one other mod you would have noticed on the front, which I always fit on cars, because sometimes when you're driving at night, and that's some extra spotlights. So I do have a set of halo spotlights, which are fantastic. This car comfortably fits 4, can fit 5 people and full luggage. We traveled as a family of 5 from Harare all the way up to Cairo, then all the way down to Cape Town, back to Harare with 5 people, a load on the roof and no trailer at all. I believe in traveling light. I don't like the idea of towing trailers, so if I can't fit it in here, it can't come. And 5 people is the maximum that you can comfortably take. Let me show you around the back. Let's go. So for tires, I like to use the BF Goodrich all-terrain. I've tried so many different brands, and these are the ones that give me the longest life. They're good for at least 80,000 kilometers, and they are very strong. Occasionally they get punctures in the sidewalls, but that's really all. They've never let me down when I felt they shouldn't have done. As you can see, this one's really old. This one I think I've probably done over 100,000 Ks on, and I just keep it as my spare. They're very expensive and I can't afford to have a brand new one as a spare, sadly. Another modification here you can see is the high lift jack. One problem with the high lift jack is where to put it. It doesn't really comfortably fit inside, and you should never put it on the roof. It's just too heavy and it's too awkward. And this is a little fitting I got made by an engineering workshop in Harare to put it at the back there. Perfect. The only time it's ever troubled me was once when I was reversing under someone's carport and it caught the edge of their carport and ripped the whole thing down, which was a little awkward, but hey. So let me show you the reason I carry this in the front is this. This lock here on the spare wheel is very problematic, especially in dust and dirt, tends to get stuck. Put a little WD-40 on it and then it'll always work. One thing I would love to have on this car would be storage space for a second spare wheel. So the 80 series Cruiser does allow that underneath, but I've found when you're traveling in the bush that second spare wheel under there tends to get snagged and damaged, and it's really not useful. So one modification, if I had the money, would be to put a second spare wheel here. Unfortunately, you need to fit the whole thing, not just, you can't just leave this one here and put a second one because they don't fit. So it's quite an expensive modification, but it is really useful when you're traveling in the far bush. To have 2 spare wheels makes a big difference. All right, I'm going to show you inside just a little bit on how we pack this vehicle. As you can see, it's fully loaded. It's not a pretty sight. I'm not packing this to win beauty contests. I'm packing this for practicality, but it does astound me how much I can get in this car. I've got a full cooler box. I've got this. I've got jerry cans of fuel. We're in the bush. We need to be well prepared. And just let me unpack this and I'll show you my central packing solution, the plastic ammo box. They come in 2 sizes, with a flat top and like this with a high top. You can fit 4 up to the roof. It's a little bit dangerous for the passengers if you just have 4. So when I do pack 4, what I do is I put a net up behind the rear passenger seat, just to protect them from anything coming forward. At the moment we're only going with 3 ammo boxes, 2 stacks of 3, so we got 6 ammo boxes here, and they're really useful, stackable. When you leave them out at night in a campsite, they're safe, they'll protect the food from any scavenging hyenas or other animals. So I think that's a summarized tour of my vehicle. Oh yes, and here's one other excellent modification. This here is my rubbish bin. I don't need to have it inside. There's a special space here. I don't think Toyota had this in mind when they designed the car, but it works perfectly. We can keep the rubbish outside without it starting to smell the inside of the car out. That's it. If I had all the money in the world, my first choice would be to pimp this vehicle up. Sadly, they stopped making it a very long time ago. All the newer model cars generally are computerized and therefore much harder for a driver like me to maintain and fix in the bush, and that's why I love this vehicle. I've had many different 4x4s in my life. I started out on Range Rovers, Land Rovers, etc. Older Landcruisers, and then this one. I've never had a more modern one than this, but for me, I'm perfectly happy with this. I just wish I could buy a new one instead of having to drive a 500,000 kilometer one. But hey, that's the story. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little tour. I'm Gus, the African Plant Hunter. If we haven't met before, my life involves traveling around the African bush, looking at indigenous African plants in this, my trusty 4x4 80 series Land Cruiser. This is a behind the scenes tour. You can catch plenty more on my YouTube channel or Facebook or Instagram. And if you really like what I do and would like to support it for the price of a cup of coffee a month, you can go to patreon.com/African Plant Hunter and sling me a few bucks to help me do what I do. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed. Take it easy. Catch you later. Bye.